Good morning. Had a great Zoom meeting with you guys this morning. It was great to see your faces. I missed you guys bunches. And I'm going to try to get back into our story of restart. We were in chapter 14 when I had to stop. So I'm going to continue. And just a reminder, another Zoom meeting on Monday. And it's going to be at 12:30. That seems like a good time, not waking you up or waking me up. Okay, so let's get back. So I make a beeline for Mr. Soloway's room. Remember, we're back to Chase. This chapter is about Chase. Wonder if there's any more dun 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 foreshadowing. So I make a beeline for Mr. Soloway's room. I have to catch up with them at some point, but the way they goof off and eat cookies, I've got plenty of time. I don't feel great about running around behind their backs, but it's easier this way. Why stir things up if I don't have to? So the colonel is lecturing us on conserving resources, and right behind him on the landing strip, the PFCs are unloading the 6 coolers of pastrami sandwiches we've flown in from San Francisco. And we're praying he doesn't turn around because we sent 2 pilots over 12,000 miles, including a stop at the Midway Islands, just to get us lunch. We're breaking our arms, patting ourselves on the back. That way we got away with it. When the colonel sniffs the air and says, "Call me crazy, but I could swear I smell pastrami." I cling harder to the flip cam so my laughter won't make the picture jump. I can see that Shoshana, the interviewer, is actually biting the side of her mouth to keep from cracking up. You don't want to do anything to interrupt Mr. Solway. Once he gets started, the stories just tumble out, one after the other. It's our 3rd day at Portland Street working with the old soldier, and our best yet. Shoshana never planned on spending more than a couple of hours here, but neither of us counted on Mr. Solway having so much to say. Most of the time, he's all sarcasm, so it's hard to have a normal conversation with him. The big difference is Shoshana, who's a natural interviewer. She's so genuinely interested that she brings out the best in Mr. Solway. Some of the stories are sad, like losing friends in battle or having to rescue children orphaned by the war. Some are uplifting, the work of medics and nurses and the incredible heroism of ordinary soldiers. But amazingly, in the middle of all that suffering and violence, a lot of funny stuff is happening too, like the pastrami incident, or the time General MacArthur's laundry was sent to their post by mistake, and they used his silk boxer shorts as party hats on New Year's Eve. I get the impression that Mr. Solway was the Army's version of a class clown, which doesn't really match the cranky old geezer he is now. Or maybe it does. I think of his mistrust of authority figures like doctors and administrators. He saw almost as many of those during the war as he does today in the assisted living. After he took out that tank, he spent 5 weeks in the hospital. He was nearly court-martialed for running an illegal gambling operation. He filled empty IV bags with helium and took bets on balloon races. While he's telling it to Shoshana, he is roaring with laughter. His face is pink from the joy of the memory. I had $50 on the hot water bottle. That was a lot of money in those days. And this crazy Texan threw a hypodermic needle like a dart, and he brought me down 3 feet shy of the finish line. I'd never been so mad at anybody in my whole life. But I paid up, at least I was going to, until the MPs raided the game. Party poopers. Engrossed in the story, I nearly missed the 2 gasps from the hall. I glanced over my shoulder to spy Aaron and Bear standing in the doorway, staring in bewilderment. Busted. Let's take a break, okay? I set down the camera and I joined them outside. What gives? Bear demands. First you come with us to community service when you don't have to, and that's bad enough. But now you're making a movie about the place? It's for the video club. And with Shoshana Weber? Aaron cuts me off. Her stupid family got us sentenced to the Graybeard Motel. Maybe I'm trying to make things right with her. I defend myself. Maybe if I help her with this project, the family will be in a more forgiving mood. Yeah, that'll work. Listen, man, Aaron snorts. You might not remember how much the Webbers hate our guts, but I do. If it was up to them, we wouldn't be on community service. We'd be on death row. But hey, it's all good. If you want to spend your time with people who curse the day you were born instead of your true friends, it's not like we can stop you. I'm torn. On one hand, I'm not doing anything wrong. Still, I've kind of brought this on myself by covering up the fact that I'm working with Shoshana. Aaron looks honestly hurt, like I'm stabbing him in the back. But let's face it, he might be kind of right. After all, I didn't have to be so secretive about the video project. Bear chimes in, and all of those Dumbledores in this place, why do you have to pick a pal around with that one? If you're looking for relics, this place is like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Why him? We're interviewing him, I try to explain. He's the most interesting person here. The guy's a war hero. They stare at me like I've got cabbage for a head. Through a long, weird silence. Finally, Aaron mumbles, "Yeah, you showed us the picture. The way you ignored all the residents here, I figured maybe you forgot." "Yeah, well, we didn't," Bear snaps. "We know all about Mr. Steinway." "Solway," I correct. Aaron is annoyed. "Listen, when you're practicing football 3 hours a day and doing community service because you have to, not because it's your hobby, you've got a lot more on your mind than remembering every old coot's name. Come on, Bear." "Look who's talking about forgetting," Bear adds resentfully as they head down the hall. "Way to go, Chase." I chew myself out as they round the corner. This is exactly what I was trying to avoid. And now they're ticked off at me. Worse, they feel like they can't trust me anymore. What's next, huh? When I re-enter the room, the first thing I see is Mr. Solway's walker standing against the wall. The old soldier himself is up on his feet, directing Shoshana, who is pulling a heavy box out of the closet. "You know," she's saying, "I thought being in the army taught people to be more orderly." Mr. Solway throws his head back and guffaws loudly. "I'm the exception to that rule. Some of the fellows, to this day, they make a bed so tight you could bounce a quarter off the blanket. Me, I always hated the spit and polish. I promised myself that the minute there were no sergeants around to search for a speck of dust on my boots, I was going to be as messy as I wanted to be." "Well, in that case," Shoshana informs him, "this closet is your crowning glory." Instead of being insulted, the old soldier looks kind of pleased. I can see it from all the way across the room. There are a few shirts, a pair of pants, a suit on hangers pushed over to one side. The rest of the space, 90% of it, is jam-packed with what can only be described as stuff. Picture the entire contents of a house crammed into a 4x4 space. All the things that would end up in the basement, the garage, the attic, live in the closet. There are books, ping pong paddles, a broom, a couple of bowling trophies, hip waders, and a fishing rod. Framed pictures, a weed whacker, ice skates, a 3-foot-high oriental vase with a cracked up the side, a golf umbrella, a garden gnome, luggage, and cartons of various sizes. As I cross the room, I get a peek inside the box that Shoshana dragged out. It contains 3 replacement furnace filters, jumper cables for a car, and a sterling silver nutcracker set. It looks like exactly what it is. The things a person collects over 86 years. And when that person moves to a place where all the storage is just a little closet, it gets pretty tight in there. "We've got a lot of great footage of Mr. Solway talking," Shoshana explains to me from the depths of the collection, "but we need some visuals to cut away to. Mementos, old photos, that kind of thing. What do you think?" When we're talking about project business, she sometimes slips up and she treats me like a fellow human being. Good idea, I agree. Mr. Solway peers into another box. Son of a gun! I was wondering what I did with my 33-piece ratchet set. I look at him, standing up and walking on his own, even bending over to see inside the carton. It's hard to believe that this is the same Mr. Solway that I first met, struggling on the walker and never even bothering to open blinds to let in some light into his gloomy room. Maybe when his wife died and he moved into Portland Street, he lost focus because everything in his life used to revolve around her. But now that Shoshana and I are coming over to work on the video, he's totally different. He wants to present himself well on camera, so he shaves, he dresses well, stands straighter, and he walks better. According to the nurses, his appetite has improved at mealtimes. We dig around some more, moving stuff out of the closet and unpacking boxes onto the floor, and it is covered with knickknacks. We do find a few things we could use in the video: black and white photographs from the barracks in Korea, the Solway's wedding picture in a double frame with one of their 50th anniversary, his old military dog tags, and another set belonging to a buddy who was killed in the war. We've got enough, but Shoshana is like a bloodhound, on her hands and knees in the closet, running her hand along the baseboard. "What are you doing back there?" Mr. Solway asked. "Drilling for oil?" She reaches behind a golf bag and drags out a navy blue velvet jewelry box of an odd triangular shape. Embossed in silver on the lid is the seal of the United States. "You found my medal?" Mr. Solway exclaims in amazement. Glowing with discovery, Shoshana flips open the cover. The box is empty. Mr. Solway frowns. "It must have fallen out." Shoshana and I give the closet floor a thorough inspection. No medal. She has a question. "Mr. Solway, when was the last time you wore your medal?" "In this place?" He's sarcastic. "Lots of state occasions here. Wheelchair races, canasta games, colonoscopies." "What about before that, before you moved here?" He casts her a grin. "I getcha. What if the crazy old codger packed up an empty case for a medal he lost 20 years ago?" "No, don't apologize. It's a valid question. The answer is, I never wore it. Not that I was ashamed of it, but it didn't feel right. Like I'd be saying, 'Look how great I am. I've got a better medal than you. Any dimwit can win a Purple Heart.' My wife used to make it out once a year on Veterans Day, and when I refused to wear it, she'd polish it up and she'd put it away again. Maybe one time she misplaced it. She was confused toward the end. It's possible." He retreats to his easy chair and he sits in silence. Talking about his wife makes him sad. We quit filming early in order to leave our subject with his memories. "I love Mr. Solway, but he's pretty weird," Shoshana says as we cross the lobby, heading for the exit. "He won his country's highest honor and basically ignored it." "People were different back then," I offered. "You know, more modest." "Yeah, sure, modest. But to care so little that you don't even bother to open the case to see if the medal's still there, and then hide it in the back of your closet behind a golf bag? You've got to be a real oddball." We've gone through the sliding doors, which might be why she doesn't notice that I stagger for a split second. Missing medal. Empty case, buried behind tons of junk. Mr. Solway's medal wasn't lost. It was stolen. Dun dun dun. More foreshadowing. Somebody pocketed it and tossed the case where it would be hard to find. Who would do such a thing? There are plenty of possibilities. Portland Street is a busy place with a big staff. Doctors, nurses, attendants, service people. There were painters in recently. It could have been one of the other residents or even a visitor. But as I run my mind over the range of suspects, an image keeps forcing itself in front of my eyes. I see a $20 bill in Mrs. Swanson's shaky hand. I see greedy fingers snatching it away. Bear and Aaron gloating over all the pizza it would buy. Of course, there's a big difference between $20 and the decoration awarded to a war hero to honor his bravery above and beyond the call of duty. But somebody greedy enough to take money from a confused old lady who thinks she's tipping room service, how could a guy like that pass up the chance to get his hands on something far more valuable? I must turn pale because Shoshana regards me in concern. Are you all right? You look like you're about to faceplant. I'm fine. I'm so not fine. But I keep my mouth shut. What kind of friend am I that I'm instantly suspect Bear and Aaron for stealing Mr. Solway's medal? What kind of friends are they that it's so easy for me to believe that they did it? 2 hard questions followed by a third. What should I do now? Dun, dun, dun. The next chapter is Brendan Espinoza, chapter 15. That's cool. We can read that next week. I hope you guys are all safe and staying home, and hopefully you're feeling good. We're all good here. Ted says, hello, hello. Rex is here. He listened to the whole chapter. He is very, very, very interested in the story. I think he's asleep. So, again, if you have any questions, email me. Hopefully you can join our Zoom meetings next week. Have a great weekend. Love you guys. Bye.